War veterans to get priority boarding on board Virgin Australia flights as part of a new Australian veterans package.
Landmark changes to the way our nation pays respect to our war veterans. They're to get priority boarding on Virgin Australia flights with a special acknowledgement to thank them for their service before the plane takes off.
Hello friends, yes, yesterday Virgin Australia announced that they're going to be giving priority boarding to war veterans here in Australia in front of all those undeserving people like doctors, nurses, teachers, care workers, people who work in the emergency services. Who even cares about those people? Scott Morrison recently announced a veterans package here in Australia, which has some really valid points in it, don't get me wrong. There's things like financial aid for veterans, but some companies have kind of stretched this a little bit too far in my opinion, and I worry that that's what Virgin Australia have recently done. Now, I appreciate if you're watching, you might not know who Scott Morrison is. Scott Morrison, he's the Prime Minister here in Australia. To kind of get an idea of Scott Morrison, picture your dad getting on social media when he really shouldn't.
G'day, hope you're enjoying your Sunday with family and friends, and if you're working today, I hope you'll get some time off soon. You know, it's not just Taylor Swift who'll be in Queensland next week. Jen and I and the girls, we were out there catching a concert in Sydney on Friday night, shaking it off. We had a great time, and I'm sure you will too.
Now, this announcement from Virgin Australia has got quite a lot of backlash online overnight. People calling it appalling, repugnant, people even calling it nationalist jingoism. There was a campaign set up by News Corp here in Australia which was encouraging companies to get together and do more for war veterans, which in itself, don't get me wrong, I obviously have no problems whatsoever with. I have great respect. Anyone watching who served in the armed forces here in Australia, in the US as well, where it's very prevalent to thank veterans on things like airlines, no problem with that at all. Great respect for everything you've done. I'm very grateful for the freedom that I have in my life nowadays as a result of your service. That's not what I'm talking about today. What I am focusing on is companies that then take that a little bit too far and kind of pull it apart into what seems like a bit of a marketing stunt. News Corp is saying it's trying to foster a movement to acknowledge the service of veterans past and present and the sacrifice of their families, and they've come up with this very nice hashtag, thanks for serving. Seems a little bit flippant that we have a hashtag to represent all the service that people, but anyway, that doesn't matter. We've got a hashtag now, so everything's all right, guys. Make sure you use the hashtag thanks for serving. So then on Sunday, Virgin then said that they would be acknowledging Defence Force veterans on their flights before takeoff. They also plan to offer priority boarding, but they've stopped short of offering discount fares. Oh, well, you know, I understand. I mean, it's nice to recognise people. It's great to get everyone to stand up and recognise when war veterans are getting on a plane, but do we really want to give them a discount? Do we want to give them money off airfares? Oh, I think that's pushing it a bit too far. Now, I'm lucky enough to have spent a bit of time in the US, and I actually have some people who probably are watching this right now who I know who serve in the US Armed Forces. And over in the United States, when you get on an aircraft, I know that there are often announcements to thank war veterans for their service. I've heard people saying thank you for your service in places like air shows when war veterans are walking past. I have no problem with any of that. That's not what I'm saying. And I'm not saying anyone watching this should also have a go at people in America for doing that. No. That's fine. America, you do it your way, no problems. Here in Australia, my big problem with this whole thing is that we don't do that now. And the moment we start to open that can of worms and start saying, well, we're going to thank a specific subset of people on this aircraft for travelling on this aircraft, then where does that end? And also, who determines who those subsets of people actually are? I mean, where does that worthiness meter stop? I mean, are you more worthy because you've served your country in the military, but if you work 14-hour shifts in a hospital to care for people, then you're not worthy of a mention when you board an aircraft? So 7 News in Sydney covered this yesterday. They put a video up on their Twitter account, and the response is, I've got to say, are predominantly not backing this idea from Virgin Australia whatsoever. Here's what a few people have been saying. The Angry Ranger, first of all, 10 internet points for your username there. They say, from my point of view as a veteran, I won't take advantage of this. Keep it for mums, bubs, the elderly, the disabled. Aussie vets don't want to stand out in public, which I think is a really important point. I mean, I think Australians may be a little bit more reserved than some other countries, not necessarily wanting the attention and recognition. I'm sure that what people would want is cheaper airfares maybe, as opposed to the recognition, but again, I'm not going to labour that point. Are we also going to thank paramedics, nurses, doctors, teachers, social workers, those who also serve society? It elevates one group of people above others. Where does it end? My point exactly. This comment that I actually touched on earlier today, this person's actually changed their username to "This veteran will board last." As a veteran myself, I find this nationalist jingoism absolutely repugnant. I no more deserve recognition than the next person, and certainly don't deserve preferential treatment. You know who should get priority boarding? The single mum wrangling 3 kids. That is indicative of a lot of comments that you'll see. It's kind of a mix between war veterans themselves who are saying, look, to be honest, we don't really want the attention, and people who haven't necessarily served in the military but are also trying to highlight other groups of people that maybe deserve the attention just as much. And again, it doesn't come down to ranking groups of people. What it comes down to is that you shouldn't rank groups of people. Who gets to decide who does get a mention on an aircraft and who doesn't? Now, this morning when I woke up, I started to see other reports about Qantas being pressured to decide whether they're going to be doing something similar to Virgin Australia, and are Qantas going to be recognising war veterans who board their aircraft? Qantas quite quickly came out with a response through their spokesman, basically saying, yeah, nah. We're conscious that we carry a lot of exceptional people every day, including veterans, police, paramedics, nurses, firefighters, and others, and so we find it difficult to single out a particular group as part of the boarding process. I choose to fly with Qantas for many, many reasons. I've talked about them here on this channel before, you know that. I have no affiliation with Qantas, no sponsorship, nothing like that. But these sorts of reactions are why I choose to fly with an airline like that. When it comes down to priority boarding, of course there are a few exceptions when I think people should be allowed to board an aircraft before others. And that is kind of the obvious. It's the mobility impaired. It's the people who might need extra assistance to get or find their seat. It's the people traveling with kids. Anyone who might just need an extra bit of time or an extra bit of help to get to their seat. Find those people, look after those people, and priority board those people by all means. What I don't believe in is that you start to then priority board people based on what they've done in their life, or whether you think that they're slightly more worthy than someone else just because of what they've done for their country in the past, or worse still, because another country is doing it and we feel that we should follow suit. So what are your thoughts on this subject? Let me know in the comments below. I'm actually going to try and put a bit of an article together on this, so if you can give me your thoughts in the comments, I might grab some of those for the article. I'd love to hear your opinions, whether you think that I'm right, whether you completely disagree with me. I really want to hear that, so let me know in the comments below. Give us a like if you agree with what I'm saying, or give us a like if you disagree with what I'm saying. And I just want to quickly say before you go, a huge thank you. We passed 20,000 subscribers. I'm humbled and blown away, and I'm going to be doing a giveaway on the channel, bigger than any that I've done before. A couple of prizes this time, not just one as well, which I hope you're going to like. So stick around for that. Let me know what you think about this subject. Otherwise, as always, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.